We begin this hour with a critical meeting expected today between senior Israeli and U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken. NBC News has learned they are meeting virtually to discuss alternatives to a ground assault on Rafah. The meeting, supposed to happen in person last week, but Prime Minister Netanyahu canceled the talks after the U.S. declined to veto a UN resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in the war. And it comes after tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets in Israel this weekend, calling on Prime Minister Netanyahu's government to resign and hold new elections, and criticizing the government's failure to free the hostages. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli officials say they have withdrawn forces from the enclave's main hospital after a 2-week raid. The Hamas-run Ministry of Health says hundreds of civilians were found dead. The World Health Organization says 21 patients died, and the medical facility is now in ruins. NBC News has reached out to the IDF for comment. Joining us now from Tel Aviv is NBC's Raf Sanchez, also with us NBC's Ali Rafa in Washington. Raf, what's it like there amid this new round of protests?
Well, Jose, in some ways, it feels like we are back to a time before October 7th. You'll remember, for the first 10 months of 2023, before the Hamas terror attack, Israelis were out on the streets in enormous numbers every single week, protesting against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plans to weaken the Supreme Court. Now they are back on the streets. It's many of the same people, more liberal, more secular people. They are calling for a new round of elections. They are calling for a ceasefire deal to free the hostages. And many of them are very angry that ultra-Orthodox Jewish members of the Israeli society are not serving in the Israeli military. Now, that's something that's been true since the founding of the State of Israel, but has taken on new significance as Israel enters 6 months of war. People feel that the burden of military service is not being shared equally across society. Now, just because people are out on the streets in big numbers does not mean there are going to be new elections. Jose, Prime Minister Netanyahu does have a majority in the Israeli parliament. It stretches from the far right, the people he entered government with, to some of the centrist opposition parties who came in after October 7th. Now, Netanyahu argues that elections right now would paralyze the country. But polls show that if people did go and vote right now, his party would lose. He would likely be replaced by Benny Gantz, a more centrist figure who is also a member of the Israeli war cabinet. And Prime Minister Netanyahu today is in hospital. He is recovering from what doctors say was a successful hernia operation. His office says he is still in charge of the country, running the war effort from his hospital bed. He's likely to be released tomorrow, and you can bet he is very closely following these talks scheduled with the White House. Jose?
And Ali, meanwhile, what can we expect from these talks?
Jose, well, the objective at the top of the White House's wish list for this virtual meeting is for this Israeli delegation they'll be speaking to virtually to be receptive of what U.S. officials say are these alternative plans they have to accomplish Israel's goal of defeating Hamas, but doing that without requiring the invasion of Rafah, where we've talked about more than 1 million Palestinians have been displaced and sheltering. And you mentioned at the top there that canceled meeting last week by Prime Minister Netanyahu after the U.S. abstained and didn't veto a UN resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in this war. U.S. officials saying that that was done because that resolution didn't include specific language condemning Hamas for its actions on October 7th. And in lieu of those meetings that were supposed to happen last week, U.S. officials were able to meet with Israeli war cabinet member Gallant, but those meetings, they stress, were pre-scheduled. They had nothing to do with that Israeli delegation meeting that was supposed to happen. But of course, those meetings took on a whole new significance after Prime Minister Netanyahu canceled them. NSC spokesperson John Kirby saying that those meetings do not replace what was supposed to be discussed with that Israeli delegation. So today we expect National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, as well as the Secretary of State Antony Blinken, to represent the U.S. side, among other officials. No word yet on whether President Biden will join, but officials are stressing they do expect, after this discussion today, to have in-person conversations with Israeli officials after this virtual call today. Jose.
And Raf, meanwhile, no information or little information on the fate of those hostages.
That's right, Jose. It has been more than 170 days. Those hostages, some 141 in total, only around 100 or so believed to be alive at this point. Ceasefire negotiations, hostage negotiations are underway right now in Cairo. An Israeli official tells me there has been some progress. There's still a long way to go. And they are hoping, from the Israeli side, that the Egyptians will be able to put a level of pressure on Hamas to try to get these negotiations over the line. These have been just absolutely marathon talks. Jose, you and I have discussed them many, many times in recent weeks. They have moved between different capitals in the Middle East. There hasn't been a whole lot of progress. It is just agony for the families of the hostages here in Israel, and it is agony for the civilians inside of Gaza, many of whom are on the brink of famine right now and are desperate for a ceasefire. Jose.
Raf Sanchez in Tel Aviv, Ali Rafa in Washington. Thank you both very much.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.